the metaphor of a river is like our life. The reason why I developed that metaphor is somewhere in my past, my misspent youth, I heard a great quote. A person cannot step into a river the same way twice. Because upon stepping in, the person is different and the river is different. Also think, your life, our lives together, are like the river, created by nature, constantly flowing. We have some control, and sometimes we don't have control on where the river is taking us. One thing we can control in our river of life and our journey is how we relate to people. In my forthcoming book, Rivers and Ropes, Relationships Lessons, you'll see many examples of how ropes and knots can be a metaphor on leadership, relationships, and team building. Today, time permitting and not being truculent about the timer, I'll introduce 4 concepts to you. The first concept President Eisenhower, General Eisenhower, even though he went to West Point, I'll give him a pass because he grew up in Kansas, used a rope for his analogy on leadership. With a rope, if I'm behind it and I'm just pushing it, it's just going to go every old which way. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. However, if I'm out in front and I'm demonstrating true leadership, then that rope will follow me, will go in a more straight path, and will be more successful in accomplishing our mission. Remember, this is Dwight David Eisenhower, who had not commanded a battalion of 800, did not command a regiment before he ended up being our Supreme Allied Commander. Now, I'm not asking anyone to be a Supreme Allied Commander. I am asking people to work better with one another. For those of you, how many of you have been in Scouts? Thank you very much. What's the first knot that we usually learn?
Square knot.
Square knot, thank you very much. Purpose of a square knot is to take 2 pieces of rope of equal diameter and to join them. And for those of us that remember, this was always the hard way to teach the square knot. Left over right, right over left. And when you're dealing with 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds, it gets kind of hard. So for my technique, I would always color code one end. This one's gray. So I could teach them gray over red, tuck under. Gray over red, tuck under. And there's a square knot. And thank you, Sharon, for volunteering. And if Sharon pulls it a little bit and I pull it a little bit, it doesn't slip. Thank you very much. You will be called on again. Thank you. The reason why we teach this to young scouts, as an old seafaring captain told me, you treat people as equals. Imagine going into middle school where egos are running wild, friendships go by the wayside, but if you treat people equally, you have a stronger relationship. You want to make a connection, as Sharon and I just did, we treat each other equally. If you're from IT, how do you treat the salespeople? If you're from sales, how do you treat the operations people? As a consultant, I've seen sales complain about operations. I've had operations complain about sales, and I just gave them all a square knot. I said, are you really treating people equally? On the river of life, and if you heard my previous speech about 2 paddles in a canoe, you do not travel down that river of life by yourself. You have friends, you have co-workers. One of the things that I've tried to teach is about how to share your troubles with co-workers. How can you make a relation? Now, this rope is not helping us bridge this gap. It's too long. So the sheep shank is a technique to shorten. I'm going to ask you to keep a little tension. Not that much tension, thank you. Okay. We're talking about, okay, it's not a tug of war this time.
Right.
Russell Merwin told me I shouldn't talk when I tie knots. You can take a little tension on that. Now, we have a rope bridging it. But the other purpose of this sheep shank is if you're feeling stress and worn out, attention. When it works, you take that knot so the worn piece of rope is in the middle. Thank you. Take that. Note to self, color code where you really need to cut. The last knot I want to share with you is what I call the tugboat knot. Because when I was on the Napa River in San Francisco, California, I lived at the Mare Island Naval Shipyard. And I watched the ships coming down the river, and it was the tugboats coming in. And if you can imagine, the great big hawsers, that's what they're called, usually about a foot wide. That's how they would moor up. But to throw a great big rope from the top of the ship down wouldn't work. So we would tie what's known as a sheep bed, which combines a rope of a bigger diameter with a rope of a little diameter. Because now, it's a whole lot easier for me to throw this rope. And then you can haul. Do you have a CEO or department manager with a lot of authority that overlooks a frontline associate? Regardless of where we are in the hierarchy of our company, we all add value to the mission. So as you travel that river of life, take these knots as metaphors of how you can strengthen your relationships with your coworkers. Madam Toastmaster.